Handed from three. Hull comes soaring in again. This uncanny knack. And cashes in.
Is on the upper left wing. Just got inside, circles around, pure effort.
The Indiana Fever were robbed in Game 3, and the whole world saw it happen. They were dominating the defending champion Las Vegas Aces, fighting for every single possession, and then a sudden storm of whistles completely flipped the game on its head. In an instant, A'ja Wilson was allowed to throw elbows without consequence. Aaliyah Boston couldn't get a single fair call, and a critical coach's challenge was blatantly ignored by the referees standing just feet away. This wasn't a loss, it was a game gift-wrapped and handed to the Aces by the officials, and the worst part is, the controversy completely overshadowed one of the gutsiest, most heroic performances of the entire playoffs.
A'ja Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexie Hull for A'ja Wilson's illegal screen. Then A'ja Wilson and Alyssa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call when nobody touches anybody.
This wasn't some sudden, isolated incident. The officiating had been leaning towards Las Vegas from the very start of the series, like a crutch for the reigning champs. In Game 1, every time Indiana established a physical defensive tone, the possession would mysteriously end with the Aces shooting free throws. After a frustrating Game 2 loss, Fever coach Stephanie White couldn't hide her exasperation, stating, "It's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor, and that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively, we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
I mean, it just really is. That comment set the stage for the disaster that was Game 3. The constant stoppages, the one-sided calls, it wasn't just disrupting Indiana's rhythm, it felt like it was suffocating it, preventing the team from ever getting up and down the floor to play their style of basketball. It was a slow bleed that turned into a gusher at the worst possible moment.
A'ja Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul called.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Gray in the corner. Connect!
The single moment that exposed the entire sham came late in the third quarter. The Fever held a slim, hard-earned 2-point lead. Aaliyah Boston was whistled for a questionable foul, and Stephanie White immediately signaled for a challenge, jumping up and down on the sideline to get the officials' attention. The bench was ready, the crowd was buzzing, but the refs just ignored her. They looked her way and proceeded with the game. Before anyone could process the blatant dismissal, the ball was inbounded, and Chelsea Gray drained a three-pointer.
2-minute recap from last night. So A'ja Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Alyssa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then A'ja Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Alyssa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
In the span of a few seconds, a 2-point Indiana lead became a 1-point deficit, and the energy in Gainbridge Fieldhouse evaporated, replaced by stunned disbelief. That one sequence, a questionable call, an ignored challenge, and a momentum-swinging basket, was more than just a bad break. It was the turning point of the game, a moment so egregious it went viral online, held up as undeniable proof that the Fever were playing against more than just the 5 players on the court.
offensive foul, practically a football check, and the Aces score. So now the Aces cut it to 2, and then A'ja Wilson sets an illegal screen, and they tied things up. And then Lexie Hull gets called for a foul for doing nothing when they just had 2 illegal screens they didn't call. All right, so this is fair. Same thing happens on the other side, but they don't call a foul for Kelsey Mitchell. So Leah Boston gets called for this foul for getting her arm grabbed, but Stephanie White can't challenge. They won't let her. That's the second time this game they didn't let her have her challenge. And then A'ja Wilson starts acting like a big baby.
From that point on, it became clear there were 2 different sets of rules on the floor. A'ja Wilson could extend her leg on a screen, a clear offensive foul, yet Lexie Hull would get called for the foul instead. Wilson could shove a Fever player in the back, and when the player shoved back, only the Fever jersey was penalized.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Hull will fire. And hit from 3. Last 2 positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull, and a jump ball between Smith and Hull.
Flailing arms and cheap pushes from the Aces were ignored, while any contact initiated by Indiana was treated like a major infraction. It felt less like an oversight and more like a deliberate agenda. The Aces weren't creating momentum with their talent. It was being handed to them by referees who seemed determined to control the outcome. It was a frustrating, demoralizing spectacle that made a high-stakes playoff game feel like a fixed fight.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull, catch, fire, and hit. Correct call. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexie Hull.
The Hull able to save the play.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first field goal of the quarter.
But while the controversy threatened to swallow the game whole, one player refused to let her team die. Lexie Hull, a player who wasn't even supposed to be a factor, decided to write her own story. Coming into the game, she was listed as questionable after aggravating a back injury. She looked stiff in warm-ups, and fans were likely expecting just a few minutes of relief for the starters. Instead, she delivered a performance that will be remembered long after the sting of this loss fades.
Back to Hull, wide open 3 is good.
The floor that she wants, doesn't it?
It does. Mitchell, connect. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell, one more. You bet.
Playing through visible pain, wincing after physical plays, she threw her body into every possession. She dove for loose balls, wrestled for rebounds against taller players, and boxed out with a Warriors' intensity. And somehow, through it all, she put up the first double-double of her playoff career, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Every three-pointer she hit felt like a lifeline, a defiant roar against the rising tide of whistles. Her toughness became an inspiration, a perfect reflection of the Fever's fighting spirit that refused to be broken.
And then here we go. She gets a foul call with a 3-point game for, I don't know why they called that foul, but it's the third quarter and they want them to win. So here we go. Ace is up by 3. They call another foul for A'ja Wilson that isn't a foul. All right, so then they call another foul on the Fever. That isn't a foul. And then to end the game after it's out of control because the Fever had a 6-point lead, but they kept calling fouls, another foul for A'ja Wilson that's not a foul. Ball don't lie, A'ja missed 11 shots in a row during this game.
The irony of Hull's heroic effort is that it came on a night when the Aces' biggest star completely vanished. A'ja Wilson, the 4-time league MVP, was a ghost. After hitting a 3-pointer to start the game, she proceeded to miss her next 11 shots. She finished the night with a miserable 13 points on 6 for 20 shooting. A'ja Boston was magnificent defensively, forcing Wilson into uncomfortable contested fadeaways all night. An MVP candidate shooting just 30% from the field should have been a death sentence for her team.
2 as well.
Here's Hull. Working behind Boston. Boston was open. Great fake, and Boston lays it in.
But it wasn't. The Aces didn't need their superstar because they had the officials and a supporting cast ready to step up. Jackie Young carried the load with 25 points, hitting clutch shots every time Indiana threatened to claw back. Chelsea Gray and Nelisa Smith added crucial baskets, so while Wilson struggled, her team was kept afloat by a combination of timely shooting and a steady stream of beneficial calls that protected their lead and bailed out their star.
Thought she got hit a lot tonight. To shoot one free throw in 38 minutes. I know they told me not to say anything, but I can't.
The narrative only got more bizarre after the final buzzer. In her post-game press conference, Aces coach Becky Hammon had the audacity to complain about the physicality of the series, a statement dripping with irony considering the circumstances. After 3 games of benefiting from a lopsided whistle, the coach of the 2-time champions was already trying to work the refs for the next game. It was a transparent attempt to control the narrative and deflect from the fact that her team's win felt hollow.
Sims, voice short. Look at Hull coming screaming in for the rebound. Boston trying to body Wilson, and does. Sims back to Boston, going back to work and dropping it in. An aggressive and effective Aaliyah Boston.
Meanwhile, Stephanie White, who has been fined before for criticizing officiating, had to be more diplomatic, choosing to focus on her team's missed shots rather than risk another financial penalty from the league. It was a masterclass in how a narrative can be manipulated, with the winning coach complaining about fairness while the losing coach was forced to bite her tongue.
Here's Boston, back to Hull. Sets herself up. Mitchell is free, laying it in. Been a while since Mitchell has gotten a shot attempt. Mitchell will get one here. And hit.
Now all eyes turn to Game 4. For the Indiana Fever, this is no longer just another playoff game. It's a fight for survival and a chance at vindication. Down 2-1, they return to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, knowing that one more loss ends their season. But they also return with the fuel of injustice burning in their bellies.
On this first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson lays it in.
The Aces will be walking into a hornet's nest. 17,000 Indiana fans who watched the robbery unfold with their own eyes will be ready to unleash a storm of noise and energy that Las Vegas has admitted they don't enjoy playing in. This is Indiana's greatest weapon, turning their home court into a pressure cooker and forcing the Aces to win without a safety net of whistles. The Fever didn't truly lose Game 3, they had it taken from them. They proved they could outplay the champions, only to be undone by forces beyond their control. Game 4 is their chance to expose how fragile that championship pedigree is when the game is called evenly. If Lexie Hull can once again fight through the pain, if Kelsey Mitchell can find her scoring touch, and if Aaliyah Boston continues to punish Aja Wilson inside, this series is far from over. Indiana's season isn't finished, it's just about to get a whole lot louder.